Start, and I'm really pleased to welcome the Te Rito team to our hui today, because I'm very excited about the potential of Te Rito that it will enable us to work together seamlessly across our network of schools. So I've had conversations with Margaret Ann for many years and her team, and over those years about how we can align with Te Rito to better support our work across schools. For some time, we've been looking at how we can manage and share student data to streamline our registration processes, record assessment and progress, and communicate with our schools. So we've been engaging with the Te Rito team in the last few months about the unique needs of Motuiako and how we work with schools and how we could be working in the Te Rito environment. So we're just about to step into Te Rito and we want our schools to join us. So it's good to see a few of our schools are here and some of our e-teachers. So welcome everybody. There's a few things about Te Rito before we hear about all the detail from our friends at the ministry. Sorry. Turn that off. Is that I think it's going to be really important for our e-teachers, and I think you said this once, Catherine, about our kids come and we know nothing about them. It's sort of a bit like working in a blank space. So it's going to be really important for our e-teachers to know their learners. Every year, our e-teachers work with a large number of diverse learners who are all new to them. So the ability to share data through Te Rito that supports our ākonga's learning pathways is just going to be immensely useful for us. It's going to help us better know our learners and better meet their needs. And it's going to be useful for us to share information back to our learners' schools, and it could be in the form of their attendance, assessment, achievement, or reporting data, and enable us, Motuiako, and our teachers to be able to contribute in meaningful ways to the learning stories of our ākonga that will be following them in that Te Rito space. So we think another thing that will be useful is the platform that Te Rito provides that will enable us to provide a consistent approach to how we connect with our teachers and our learners. For our online classes or for collaborations we want to support between schools. We've got a rural and remote schools project that's running at the moment. I can just see them being supported in this space. Professional groups such as our Kotuitui Networks of Expertise that's hosting this webinar today. So there are many ways still to be discovered about how we can really utilise the platform that Te Rito will enable us with. So I'm looking forward to exploring how we can best make use of it and to improve the work we're already doing with schools and our networks, and to create new opportunities to engage in a network learning community. So those are the things that I'm very excited about, and I'd invite the ministry to tell us all about it. Where are we up to? Over to you.
Kia ora, Rachel. Ko hikurangi te maunga ko waia puti awa ko Ngāti Porou te iwi. Ko Miles Ferris tōku ingoa, ko te manukura o te rauwhakatupu Māori. So, kia ora everyone. My name is Miles Ferris. I'm the chair of Te Rauwhakatupu Māori, the Māori Medium Working Group, and also one of the, I guess, project leads for Te Rito. I was 15 years as tūmwaki, first in a small country school called Aranga, and up just south of the Waipoa Forest, and then after that Te Kuro o Tangare, which was dual medium. So full immersion level 1 for a third of my school, and 2/3 of my school were level 3 bilingual. Yeah, so I'll pass it over. Actually, why don't we start the show, Mel, and we'll do our karakia first while I do that, and then I'll get the team to introduce themselves. Mel's used to working in teams, so she's just trying to make sure she can share it. Ah, I can do it, Mel. Ka pai. Ka inoi tātou, pauhirihiri, pauramarama, pau o te whakaaro, pau o te tangata, pau o te aroha. Te pau e here nei I o e a tātou mauri ora ki a tātou, haumi e, hui e, tā iki e. So I'll invite my good friend Graham Barber to introduce himself. Thanks, Graham.
Kia ora, Miles. Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Ko Araki Te Monga, Otaku Nāko, ko Waitaki Te Awa, Otaku Wairua, no te Oamaru Oki Te Puna, ko Otatahio, ko Graham Barber Tukuinga. Hi everyone, I'm Graham Barber. I'm a retired school principal. I've served 30 years. I'm the chair of the Te Reo Whakatupu Araki English Medium Working Group, and Miles and I co-chair the steering groups and work very closely together to ensure that the sector voice is heard in this work, and you'll hear more about that later. Miles was president of Te Akatea Maori Principals, and I was on the NZPF executive before I retired. Kia ora.
Thanks, mate. You may.
Kia ora koutou. Ko Margaret Ann Barnett tōku ingoa, generally called MA, and very pleased to be here. I'm the strategic advisor to the digital group and been closely involved with Te Rito for a number of years. And just to reiterate what Miles and Graham said, in fact, they don't just contribute to Te Rito, they actually guide its design and delivery. So we're very pleased to be here today, and thank you, Rachel. We have been working with you for a number of years now, and it's great to have something that we can actually offer that could make a real difference for the great work you do. Kia ora.
I think we're going to Ellen next. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you, Miles. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Alan Hewitt. I work at the Ministry as a Security and Privacy Advisor. I'm one of the technical leads on the programme, and again, very happy to be here to talk to you this afternoon.
And to Mel.
Kia ora everybody, ko Mel Hart tōku ingoa. I'm the change manager for the Te Rito program, and just so pleased to be here today talking to you about Te Rito and the vision that we all share for ākonga learners, kura in schools and whānau. I'm working with an amazing team of people. Everyone is so passionate about the vision and the goal. Really, really looking forward to talking to you about that today. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. If we can go to the next slide. So, me tiaki te mana o te tamaiti me tōna whānau. This is about protecting and upholding the mana of the child and their family. So everything that we have done in co-designing this with the ministry has been about ensuring that every decision meets that very high standard. So nothing that we have designed with the ministry has it's always the child at the heart of the matter, and our role was to make sure that we protect them and their whānau. It's really important to understand that we come from the space of the child owns the data. It's theirs, it belongs to them and their whānau, and we as custodians and as educators, Mel, you've just gone to a different page. So, you know, with that in mind, everything that we try to do and create is about ensuring that the child and the family have access to it. From a Māori perspective, one of the first things we spoke about was how this could potentially bring our Māori whānau closer to their school and create a closer relationship with their kaiako, and hopefully a better outcome for their education. We didn't just grab Te Rito as a name. It's from the whakatauaki hutia Te Rito o te harakeke. So, of course, we went up to Te Aupōuri. Miringaropo was credited with that whakatauaki. And so we requested permission to use their name. And, of course, when they gave it to us, we realised that we had to uphold the mana of it. So everything we've done is about prioritising the safety and security of information. So you'll see later on how intensely we take that tono. Next, please. So a brief overview of what we're going to talk about. As you've heard already, it's for the sector, by the sector. We have helped to design it. We'll share what Te Rito is and some of the out-of-the-box features. When we say out-of-the-box, it's there's lots of features in there that you don't need to use and weren't part of the initial criteria for delivering Te Rito, but because the EDSB, the company that provides this, says, well, this is the whole product and you are welcome to have access to all of it. We'll talk about the delivery and when you might expect to be brought on board. Alan's going to have a quick chat about the data security and privacy. Then I'll take you through a quick demo, and it is a demo site. And don't have enough time to show you every feature, but we'll go over some things that might pique your interest. And later on, we might be able to come back and share the demo a little bit more. And then we'll talk about how you can connect. One of the big key things that we really want you to do is, if your school hasn't already, is to connect the information, connect your SMS to Te Rito so that we can start saving that information about the children that are already in your kura. All right. Then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. So if you do have questions as we go through, feel free to put them in the chat. If you can wait to the end, we may answer your question while we're doing the kōrero and the demo. But again, feel free to put it in the chat and then it'll be saved for others as well. All righty. This is about the data following the child. So we know that the current system of SMSs means that as soon as the child leaves the kura, that information stays in the SMS and does not get passed on to the next school. Some schools may have some functionality. I believe Hero has a great system that information can be passed over. But this, with Te Rito, it's done automatically. So the process is you connect to the SMS to Te Rito. It does an overnight update. So every day it's updating any information that's been put in there. So one, it's a great backup. It stores it and it stores it very safely, all the information about that child. Two, parents have access to that information. So they can follow their academic progress and the work that the students do. For you, in your environment, you'll understand this. Having so many different students coming in, this kōrero comes from a tamariki, and it's really important that we whakawhanaungatanga. And having, as you'll see in the demo, a lot more information available to you the moment that child enrolls in your class means that you'll get to know them a heck of a lot quicker. And of course, you'll have access to all the information that they've had from previous schools, or even in if they're dual enrolled, their class that they're coming, alongside with. So from a whānau's perspective, one login for all your children wherever they are in the country. I had 4 at 4 different schools at one point, 4 different logins, 4 different SMSs. And then, of course, as soon as they moved, that information stayed there and I had to get a new login. So with Te Rito, as a parent, I can log in to this app that will be available on a mobile phone, and hopefully we're working hard to get free data for that. And of course, log in through your laptop or your PC at home. But all 4 children come up. For me, it would have been 4 different schools. It has immediate access to communicate with the teachers, so I can message the teachers the moment that they're put in the class. If my child has moved to a different class, it gets updated straight away. And the other thing too is, from a whānau perspective, we won't have to keep retelling our story. We know that that's a really challenging thing, especially for students with special needs. So that'll be great as well. So I'll pass the time over now to Graham, who's going to take the next section. Thank you, Graham.
Kia ora, Miles. as Miles mentioned, for the sector by the sector. So we chair groups, as we've said before, which is all around the co-design, co-delivery and partnership. And you can see here the membership. Some of these people have been on for a very long time, and a number of them represent peak body groups. And so you can see the logos across the bottom of the groups that are represented. So they bring a wide range of perspectives to the table, which really helps. And a number of them are involved in testing and trialing aspects of the build and delivery as well. Thanks, Mel. The data is owned, as Miles said, by the child and their whānau. Principals, schools, teachers do not own the data, neither does the ministry. So there's no access to individual data by anybody, and the rules around that access for aggregated data is controlled by a data kaitiakitanga group, which is some of the representatives that you saw on the previous screen are part of that group. They have the vote, and a number of other people, including senior staff in the ministry, and Chief Data Steward, for example, they provide advice and guidance, and but the decision is made by the sector representatives. So there's a heck of a lot of controls over the data to ensure the child and their whānau the mana is upheld and protected. So making Te Rito real is really important to us, and the more value that's in it, then the more chance there is to be real, so it continues to meet our whakatuaki. Next, please. The offerings are on this page, and they're fairly significant, really. We've talked about connections, and you mentioned at the start, Rachel, around the ability to collaborate and connect schools, learners, and their whānau. We've got teachers onboarding, and in some cases we're moving towards school learners and eventually parents. There's the record of the child follows them between schools. At the moment, the SMSs do not talk to one another, so that data gets lost. So once it's in Te Rito, it stays there. We talked about collaboration and different groups. Originally, it was kahuiako, but it's now opened up to a variety of clusters and schools with national reach, such as the Virtual Learning Network. And there's a lot of streamline and definitely a lot less double handling. Those of you who've been involved in getting your kids in your class will understand how much time can be spent finding out about their strengths and successes, so that you can set up learning to best meet their needs. So there's a lot less double handling. And carrying on, please, Mel. Next one. Out of the box, this is a very large platform. There's lots of features on there. Collaboration's been mentioned already, as well as the teaching and learning that you'll see shortly with Miles. But you are not compelled to use it, and certainly you can choose yourselves which parts of Te Rito you use to suit your own context. So it's a big package that you can you have lots of choice about. And I think I now pass back to Miles.
Thanks, Graham. Appreciate that, mate. Okay, so one of the things about this sharing that we decided very early on, about 6 or 7 years ago when we first got the working groups together, that we needed to make sure this worked. Any of you who went through the pain of Novo Pay understands getting this right is really important for every teacher across the country. So what we decided to do a stepped rollout, and it's proving valuable at this point in time. We've opened up, I think, about 10 schools in Whangārei, which is where I'm based, which means that I can have work closely with the tumuaki that are up there. We've opened up a number of schools for the members on Ngāro Whakatipu, and we've also got a group down in Kawerau. So we're trialling, testing it, checking out how it looks in real time. What we're finding is that in general, the SMSs, the data in SMSs is not quite matching up to the data that's coming into Te Rito. That when we look deeper into it, we're finding that some schools need to tidy up their data in their SMS. You guys won't have that problem if you're starting out fresh, but just allaying fears that the product itself is picking up and running quite well. We have over 600 schools registered to connect, and over 300 of those have connected. There are a variety of reasons why they haven't done so already. It's not the provider, EDSB's fault. One of the SMSs that a lot of schools have tried to register with is Hero, and they're sort of hopefully on board by the end of the year. So once we get those, I think there's about 130 odd schools who have registered for that. The benefit of connecting, as I mentioned before, is securing that data. Alan will talk about the security and privacy around certification and accreditation. This will integrate with key ministry systems, so eASTL. So it'll drag down the data directly into the student's file from eASTL. We hope to be working with NZCER to get the PAs and other information from there. But ultimately, whatever the school puts into their SMS can be dragged across. The only proviso we have is that what we don't send over is anything that's in guidance notes or incident reports. It was a decision made about making sure that the child, if they went to a new school, had a fresh start. However, there's the option of putting a flag up if there's information that you really feel the next school should have, like we currently have with the Enroll system. Yeah, and I think there's, correct me if I'm wrong, team, about over 170,000 individual student records that are currently sitting in Te Rito. So it's ramping up, and we're just going into a process of trying to encourage more schools to connect now that we're a lot more confident about receiving all that data. All righty. Pass the time over to Ella. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Hello again, folks. So as Miles and Graham have mentioned, we're all very focused on making sure that the data is safe and secure within Te Rito, which as the security and privacy specialist makes my job considerably easier. Mel, if you want to just flick over, thank you. So as we've mentioned, a lot of the data currently within Te Rito comes from the school's actual SMS. Edge, ETAP and KMAR are currently live, and as Miles mentioned, we're working with Hero to make sure they're connected and we're receiving data from their connected schools as well. Over on the right-hand side, we've got a view of some of the other sources of data. So from a non-ministry perspective, we're working with our colleagues over at NZQA to get NCEA data and credits starting to come through, which will be particularly relevant, obviously, for secondary schools. We're also working, as mentioned, with NZCER to start to get some of the PAT data coming through from schools as well. So that's a work in progress at this time. But certainly having this data from multiple different sources helps to fill some of the gaps that Rachel and Amanda have spoken about in terms of manual administration and making sure that the information that is accessible to you as teachers through Core 2 EARCO is actually accurate and up to date. We are also working, sorry, Mel, can you just get back? Sorry, thank you. We are also working with the other 4 SMS providers. So if you're at a particularly small school and you're using the likes of Fax, Synergetic or Integrated, we are still working with them to make sure the data is coming through from those SMSs. On the ministry side, as Miles mentioned, we're looking at eASTL, PACT and TWA as, again, ministry assessment tools. and making sure that all of that information comes through. We're also doing a lot of work. It may not surprise you to hear that the ministry has a complicated funding system and multiple different funding systems, and not all of that information is readily available to principals or teachers at schools. So we're doing a lot of work to make sure that we get the data from the various ministry funding systems piped into Te Rito, so that again, from a pre-enrollment or from a principal's view, there can start to be some heads-up information, early awareness that a particular student comes with some funding or has some particular learning support needs, and that principal can start to put provisions in place before that student turns up at their school on day one. Thank you, Mel. If we can jump over. So EDSB, as Miles mentioned, is our Canadian supplier of the service. They hold something called ISO 27001 for their information security management system. So they've been audited and certified to an international standard to demonstrate that they are doing the right security and privacy work. They've also recently been successfully assessed against something called Safer Technology for Schools, which is something that our Australian cousins developed a number of years ago, and New Zealand became a member of a couple of years ago as well. So you might have seen some information about ST4S come from the ministry, but we're also now very happy to be able to say that EDSB, as our supplier for Te Rito, also meets the requirements of ST4S. We've had a big focus on privacy over the last couple of years. We've been in extensive and ongoing consultations with the Office of the Privacy Commissioner to make sure that this flow of information and this visibility of information about children still respects their privacy and does not disclose information in an inappropriate manner or to people who should not actually have access to it. The product itself works very much around the teacher being assigned to the class. So if you are a teacher in a school, you've only got visibility about information for the students in your classes. You don't have visibility of information about students in other parts of the school. The principal has got visibility of everyone. The flip side of that for Kortu Iako as well is that if you have students from another school and they are part of your virtual class, you've got visibility of information about them. The only dependency there is that the sending school obviously needs to be connected to Te Rito so that the information is flowing through. But it's not dependent upon the sending school actually being actively using Te Rito, just as long as the SMS is connected and sending data. That would enable you as Kortu Iako teachers to be able to see information about students in other schools. We will be working through a proactive release of the privacy impact assessment, along with some plain language summaries over the next month or so. And again, to be very clear, this is not a ministry system in the way that Enroll or NSI is. So there is only one or two people within the ministry who've got access into Te Rito for, as the caveat and the asterisk says, for technical support purposes when it's actually required, but they certainly don't have regular access. Te Nui, certainly the important thing, you decide who has access to your learners' information, and everything we're doing respects the obligations under the Privacy Act. Thank you for that. I'm passing back to Miles now.
Thanks very much, Alan. Right, now I need to take over sharing of my screen. So I'll take you through a quick demo, and I apologize if I go too quickly. Hopefully you can see that. A few nods, thank you. I think I've only got about 10 minutes left. So if you do need to leave, feel free. And Rachel, if you just give me a nudge if I go too far over. I'm going to log in as a secondary teacher, just so you can see what the platform looks like and show you a couple of features. Just be aware that there's no way that I can show you everything in the time that I've got. So hopefully you'll get a chance to have a look at it further later on. All right, so it has a very similar look to Facebook for a very good reason, so people feel comfortable using it. Obviously, we've got a better color scheme. So I am a teacher Kara's a teacher at St. Joseph Boys School, and we are part of the Hamilton Central Community of Learning. Just be aware that this is fully fictitious. There's no actual student information in here. So across the top, the home button, messaging. So as I mentioned earlier, you get instant opportunities to message parents the moment that they're enrolled in your class. So no more having to find email addresses and things like that. You can message them through that. There is a calendar that provides it instantly and automatically updates the student calendar. So as a teacher, if you put an event in your calendar for that class, every student gets it on their calendar. Unfortunately, we cannot link the Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar for security reasons. However, it's a function again. If you choose to use it as a Kōtui group, then fine. The next one is just a launchpad for frequently visited websites, and you can put websites up there for your students if you want them to have access to a particular website. There is the analytics, so that's where you go in to look for your attendance, and it tracks it and provides graphs for it. There's transition information, and of course your standard sort of demographic information about your whole school. Within that, you can also look at groups of schools, as somebody mentioned, so you can have a look at your dashboard across a range of schools. It could be based on your kahui ako for those principals in the room, or you can create your own groups. And there's a place to put all your digital resources. Right, on the left-hand side down here, these are the classes that Kara teaches. Now, as I click into it, so this is Science 10A. I share this class with another teacher, so both of us can see that. The students come up on the left-hand side. Any information that I put into the feed in the middle goes to each of those students, so they have a similar view of what's in the middle. You can see across the top, I can create notes, journal entries. I can create assessments directly into this, and the events, and of course, you can put a poll up. On the left-hand side further down, I can put all the content that I need for this class. So any kind of digital resource can be made available to the students. And of course, the students can post in there as well. It's a great way for students to share their work and their learning. Now I've gone into one of the students, Kane Barber. You can see I can, they're the parents on the left-hand side. And if I bring that up, you can see that I can send a message. I can view details about the parent and things like that. Any alerts, so if the child has any allergies, things like that, that the teacher needs to be aware of. And you can see in this one, there's bee allergies. So if you do get to take them out on an outing, checking to make sure that they have the required medication. And the short form of the calendar is available for that day. So reminders come up. And further information about the child and who the home teacher is. This all comes from the SMS, so whatever's in the SMS dictates that. Further down on the left-hand side, we can have progress reports. So it's kind of real-time reporting, so you can share those with the parents as well. And they can be done in a number of ways, and so that can change from percentage to a grade or an OTJ. The academic records, this is kind of the stuff that follows the child, and at this point it looks like this, and then EDSB are doing some work to update it. so it can be refined a little better. But obviously you can have the filters that are on the side. I just want to look at the work that, let's try and go maybe year 9. So previous year, year 9 science, I can have a look to see what grades this young man has got the previous year. And it has a range of different information from just NCA level through to ASTL, PATs, all the way back to when they started school. Just take that back.
So this is a student portfolio, Miles.
No, that's their student record.
Okay.
This is their portfolio.
Oh,
So
righty.
this is the work that the teacher can put into the student's portfolio, and this is, but the student can also add this work as well. The student and the teacher can decide whether they share that piece of work with the parent. So if we have a look at, and they can download it. So this is Kane's work there, and I can make a comment on it. And if I share it with the parent, they can comment on it as well. And this is the stuff that stays with them, that they get to choose whether they keep forever and a day. Oh, and did I mention it's free? There's no cost to schools, and there's no cost to parents. So everything about this is free. Also, if you have a look on the side, when it's got the About Me, there's his pepeha, and a little bit about who he is, where he's from. That know me before you teach me side of things comes into play. A lot of primary schools spend a lot of time investigating the whakapapa for our tamariki, and then they go off to another school, and if that school doesn't use it, then they forget it. But at least here, it's there and available to them. So here's a bit more in terms of the student admin, NSN number, date of birth, all that kind of information. There will be a availability of putting the child's birth certificate in there and any identification if they wish to put it up there as well.
Just a quick question,
Yep.
Miles, from Alana, around the student record being available to the whānau, or does it have to be shared by the teacher?
No, well, the student has access to that. So the pure data is there. There's no context in and around it at this point. So the results are available.
And the whānau,
it's just-
eventually the whānau will be able to see all of that.
Yeah. But as I mentioned, the only thing that's not shared is the, incident reports or guidance notes and things like that around. We need to remind everybody, and this is one of the things that we do, is that a parent can OIA the school to request everything that is written about them. So, we're not trying to hide it, but what we don't want to do is create a prejudice for a child unless that parent wants that next school to know some of the challenges that that student has been through. Yeah. So some of the consenting provision that's available. So schools can obtain consent. And as a strength base, you can put in notes. We are focusing on being a strength-based system. So focusing on the child's strengths to help them overcome any of the challenges that they have. All right. So in Panorama, I can put something in there that Kane's other teachers can see, but is not at this point shared with parents or the student. The portfolio is where the student can put their work, or you can put their work up and share with the parents, but the parents can see their academic records. Alrighty. I've probably gone a little bit over my time. I will quickly log out and just show you the parent view, just so that you can see how different it is. And then I better finish, and over time you'll get to see more of this, but there we are. I've logged in as Peter Ferris. Edsby were trying to be funny when they created these names, so that's why there's Ferris and Barbara in there. So please forgive me for. And so I can see all three of my children. I can see what classes they're in. So Ruby's at a different school. I can see their teacher. I can message their teacher. I can see the calendar of what my child Ruby has, all the different classes and some of the work that they are required to cover. So parents can't see other students posting, but they can see the teacher post in that particular class setting. The library is available to put additional resources for that student, for that class. Yeah, as I said, I don't have time to cover everything. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or we'll have a quick Q&A. But I am going to pass the time over to Mel just to cover some of the things that I haven't. Cheers. Mel, are you going to? I think you were going to.
Yeah. Right, as Miles and Graham have spoken about, the importance of SMS connections to the platform is absolutely critical to bringing Te Rito to life. It really is about once that connection is made and other data sources are added to the platform, that means that more and more information is available on learners to connected schools, which is of particular value when learners are moving around between schools. So the connection process is really straightforward. There's 3 steps, and all that a principal would need to do is to go to the Te Rito website, and on there is a link to the Connect form on the homepage. It's a really simple form. The form gets submitted to Edsby, and from there an email is generated back to the principal with instructions on how to activate the account. So it's really, really straightforward in terms of making that connection. And then, of course, it's about onboarding and understanding access and use. Thanks, Miles.
Thanks, Mel. One of the things I'm not 100 if Alan brought up, but he's been doing a review of schools in order to ensure that each school is meeting the requirements of the Privacy Act in terms of passing information on to another school. I think, Alan, approximately 80% that, sorry, more than 80% of schools.
92%.
92, sorry. 92% are compliant in terms of their enrollment forms and their privacy statements. So if you are a school that's looking to connect, it will pass information on to the next school, which pretty much every school does, unless you're a secondary that doesn't have any school leavers. Yeah, it might pay to check, and if you would like to, you can, send your enrollment form or in the privacy statement through to Ellen. I would just check it first. If it's available on the website, Ellen's probably already had a look at it. So that's important to make sure that schools are meeting the requirements of the Privacy Act. Alrighty, Q&As. If you do have a question, if you want to put your hand up, I think we've got a bit of time to be able to answer them directly, and we'll just try and find the right person to answer that question for you amongst the team. Alternatively, if you have got some in the chat, sorry, there's probably a few in there.
There's
cool.
one in the chat.